Welcome, everyone. I feel very honored, as you heard, for opening the Soft Skills Summit in Europe. And one of the reasons is because in the tech space, as Greg was saying, we often focus too much in the technical aspect and forget that a big part of our jobs is not technical and requires us to master other important skills. I'm very happy that we have today a focus on these so-called soft skills, or as I like to call them, core skills. One of the things that shocked me the most when entering the tech space was the lack of opportunities for juniors. How can we ensure that we have enough professionals if no one wants to give a chance to entry-level engineers? My goal today is to convince you on why you should consider hiring more juniors. And I will show you that that can benefit you, let's say the seniors and your team. And I will give you some tips to help your juniors grow. And disclaimer, as I said, I'll be mentioning juniors and seniors because this is what I want to highlight. I want to highlight the two extremes, but many of the tips, if not all, apply to any level. My name is Lara, and I'm an Android developer based in Berlin. So I grew up and studied in Spain. And then I went to university where I graduated with a degree on biology. And why biology, you might be wondering? Well, I was 18 when I had to choose, and that was the only thing I liked at the time, and I knew I could do. So, well, that's what I did. But then life happened, and I moved to Berlin with my partner. I could not find any job with my degree here, and also I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So during that time, I discovered programming in my time during that time, and I took several basic courses online. But of course, that was not enough to get a job anywhere. It's just something I really liked, and I eventually started earning some money on the side by working part-time testing apps and websites. And that was the closest thing to tech. And it was so much fun. It was exciting. So I gave it a chance for a while, and I work on this until I realized that you can actually do that professionally. You can have a job and do that full-time at a company. So that's when I decided that I would look for a job as a manual tester in quality assurance, also known as QA. And I focus in the gaming industry because, well, gaming is one of my hobbies, so why not, right? And I found myself applying to places and doing some interviews for months. I actually think that I was lucky that none of these gaming companies hired me because probably I would have been overworked. But well, it prepared me for some interviews as well. And then I spent some more months looking, but it eventually happened. I got my first job as QA, and it was in a mobile team that had applications for Android and iOS. And I felt very, very lucky. I loved everything about smartphones. I was new in the tech space. Everything was new. I was learning lots. It was great. It was just great. And weeks after I started my job, colleagues of mine were discussing the hiring status of the team. They were saying that they had spent months looking for Android developers. Months. I didn't know that the reality is that there's a high demand for developers and the market is in favor of the candidates. Sadly, the turnover is really high as well. Turnover means the frequency in which employees come and go from a company. When it comes to hiring, companies prefer seniors. That may be because they can take care of any task. They bring experience, they have knowledge. But why don't we hire juniors? Why don't we look for people that just graduated from university or that are switching careers? Where do seniors come from? No one is born being a senior. No one is born being a senior. You all have been a junior before, and you all had to look for your first job as a junior. We have to create opportunities for juniors, and this will not only enrich our teams and companies, but will also grow, and also these juniors will grow and become seniors eventually. Getting the first job as a junior is tough, but possible. In this talk, I won't get into details on getting that first job as a junior, but instead, I will talk about what it's like to be a junior and how you can help them. In my case, well, while I was working as QA during a year, I had studied Android development in my spare time nonstop because I fell in love with it and I found that I wanted to do that professionally. I wanted to become an Android developer. When I felt ready to look for an internship or junior position, I tried in the company I was working for as QA. It took time, but it eventually worked. It worked out. I transitioned internally in that company. This process was hard, but luckily I was already in the market. I was employed in tech already as QA. And at that point, I was an entry-level junior as well. And this was 2017. That's the year I joined the first DroidCon Berlin. So you all were juniors at some point as well. You need the first opportunity. You needed that job. And getting those jobs is not easy. It's very hard. For juniors, it's not easy. Just look at any job board for developers that try to find their open positions for juniors. Some of you went to university and studied computer science, going through what is considered the traditional path. And probably after university, you got an internship in a company. So there was a clear path for you. And it was, let's say, easy to get your first opportunity. Some of you were not that lucky and had to search for a job. You didn't get an internship and you had to search for a job. And you eventually got it. And some of you even switched careers into tech, like I did. And you had to fight even more to get into the market. But let's say you looked for a long time as a junior, you got the first job, you got it, you got the first gig as a developer, you made it. But the struggle is not over. Actually, it just started. Meet the final boss of professional software development, the imposter syndrome. You got hired into a team of seniors. You are the only junior there. They are talking about libraries that you have not used yet or maybe not even heard before. They discuss things that you do not understand. You start feeling as an imposter. What am I doing here? I don't belong here. And internally, you start feeling fear. You are afraid that someone thinks that you are an imposter. You are scared of working with more experienced people and asking too many questions. We are afraid of bothering your teammates, afraid of making a mistake that can affect the company, afraid that everyone thinks that you're not good enough. And I'm sure that most of you have felt this at some point, and even some of us still feel like this sometimes. And you know this is very hard. We can help our juniors offering a good work environment where no one is afraid of asking questions, making mistakes, and never feels inferior. One of the things you have to do is to focus on the good things that juniors bring. Because yes, juniors bring lots of great things to you and to the team. Have you ever felt demotivated at work? Demotivation is contagious, but so is motivation. And juniors would be very motivated to work with you, and you will feel this energy. Juniors bring fresh knowledge. Juniors probably played with libraries and new components that seniors did not have time yet to do. When I was a junior, constraint layout in Android was the new thing. I got the opportunity to show to senior colleagues of mine this new thing, and it felt great being able to exchange this knowledge. Now that I am a senior developer, I might be able to learn Android Jetpack Compose from a junior soon. So I'm sure that you tried things outside Android as well, in other areas like web development, data science, backend, anything. All this knowledge is very valuable. Juniors also bring a flexible mindset. Let's be honest, seniors may not be as flexible sometimes. After years of working, you get comfortable following certain approaches, using certain libraries, and you as a senior may not want to start something else. And perhaps because you want to keep a stable product. However, sometimes we just don't have the motivation to learn something new, and it's fine. But when continuing the story of constraint layout, I remember that I had colleagues of mine that were not keen on learning because they were happy building complex nested layouts, and they didn't need to learn a new layout type. But the thing is that juniors would be flexible, as they are always willing to learn something, and because they want to grow. Juniors bring a learning mindset. They are continuously learning to get more knowledge. They want to learn. They want to learn and have lots of motivation. And they will be happy, very happy to do those simple tasks that you as a senior are tired of doing and do not want to do anymore. But actually, those are very great learning experiences and opportunities for them. And it's perfectly fine to delegate things. But disclaimer, juniors should not be only given simple tasks, and I will explain this later. So by now it's clear that juniors bring lots of great things and positive things to your team. However, you might be thinking that it's not only the other developers who need to be convinced, but also managers have a set of expectations. And of course, they do have expectations for juniors, but let's quickly compare them to seniors. Managers expect that both seniors and juniors are continuously learning, both of them, because we as developers need to continuously learn, and not because you are already a senior means that you can stop learning. You need to continue growing as a professional. Managers expect that juniors and seniors ask lots of questions. Everyone should be open for discussion, willing to answer questions and to make them. Of course, juniors are not expected to take small tasks, but they will be getting small tasks in the beginning as they are learning the project, but they will gradually get bigger tasks as they learn. And from a senior, well, it's expected that they can do almost anything, right? But that's because managers don't expect juniors to know all the processes in a company. For example, they do not expect juniors to work across teams or being able to do a release alone. However, they should be learning them and growing. So these kind of tasks usually fall into seniors. And finally, managers expect that juniors will need guidance as they grow. And who's going to provide that guidance? Seniors. Because as part of a senior role, you are expected to be able to work with juniors. Seniors are expected to guide juniors. And as you can see, expectations for juniors and seniors are very similar. There are things that apply to everyone and things that seniors will have more responsibility over the junior. At this point, you might be thinking, You seniors, yes, juniors bring lots of great things, but what do I gain helping juniors? Well, you're going to be guiding someone on processes and more. So you will show to your company that you can lead. You can also delegate things, and this will help the juniors learn more things, but also will allow you to focus on the tasks that require your expertise. But the most important thing to you is your career growth here, because as part of your role as a senior, you are expected to be able to mentor. And that's when I will give you some tips, a series of tips on how to make this a reality. So, what is mentoring? Think for a moment what mentoring is for you. For me, mentoring is not a teacher-student relationship. For me, mentoring is sharing. That's the base. And that works both ways. The first key point is knowledge sharing. You share knowledge when you give constructive answers on your code reviews, when you talk about a library that didn't work on your project and why you're using this other one instead. You share your knowledge when you share a video of a talk or an article, when you discuss about an approach that you think could be beneficial for the project. In many ways, you are sharing your knowledge, and by doing that, you can mentor a junior. But to be able to effectively share your knowledge, you need to improve another skill. Communication. Communication is probably one of the hardest skills to master. Think of effective communication. How can you explain a complex concept to a junior developer? Well, there are many different things that you can do that will help you. Focus the learning on something in particular. For example, you can focus on the architecture pattern that your project has. One thing at a time. And it's okay to say, on this task today, we are going to focus on the architecture pattern. We won't focus on other things. And at the moment that those other topics are needed, the junior can copy paste an example or just guide them step by step without going into details. You don't have to explain everything. And it's okay to tell them that they do not need to understand everything or a given topic right now, and make them focus on the important part of the task. They do not need to know everything the first time. This way you are going to be introducing concepts slowly, but without overwhelming. Another thing I recommend you to do is to sketch. Have pen and paper in hand, sketch ideas, draw, write on a whiteboard. There are many websites out there that allow you to also quickly create diagrams. This will help you to visualize the explanations that you are giving. It will make it easier for you, for your junior, and anyone listening to you explaining something complex. Also, juniors will have this as a reference. Other things that I find very important in communication is something that applies to everyone and not only seniors. Be constructive. When reviewing code, always offer an alternative or an example. Be constructive. Do not say, why did you do this? Instead, you can say, as I understand, you're doing this because X. However, have you considered doing that other alternative? Also, instead of reviewing the code on GitHub and just leave comments there, what you can also do is to have a conversation outside GitHub or in a private channel. This will feel more closer and not like a personal attack. Always keep your criticism in private, please, and always praise in public. And this also applies to code reviews. So let's say by now your juniors are learning with you, and so you're wondering which kind of tasks can they do. You have to to be aware of the knowledge of the junior and their capacity. Do not make them review or do complex tasks. Everyone learns and in different ways and at different pace. As the juniors do work, you will see their capacities. Always challenge them. Give them diverse tasks so they can see different parts of the project, because you also don't want them to get bored. Something I find very important is to make sure they have a good environment with good mood and without sexism. Everyone should feel comfortable to ask any question. And if seniors ask questions without attacking each other, juniors will feel more comfortable and will do the same. They will ask you questions. And lastly, I know that not everyone is fan of this, but pair programming is another great tool to help juniors grow. And pair programming is not you code what I say, it's a conversation around a problem. Let the junior take over the keyboard. Sit in their space so they feel more comfortable. In the remote world, let them share their screen so they can type. Do not type yourself, sharing your screen, and make them watch. Please, don't do that. And please don't forget to be patient. Pair programming is going to boost the learning. Everyone that tries it knows it. Try it out. And now some tips for juniors as well, because there are many things that you can do to help with the situation. It's important to keep in mind that you have to ask questions. You have to interrupt your colleagues. Do not stop yourself from asking questions. I know that not everyone is going to be a fan of this statement, but yes, juniors have to interrupt colleagues. Don't wait for the right moment. The best time to ask questions is at any time. And what if you get stuck? What can you do? Well, I think this is not news, but in this job getting stuck is just part of the job. It's something that happens almost on a daily basis. We all get stuck. And the thing is that not everyone, not all of us have the same capacity to move forward. So what can you do if you get stuck? One thing you can do is to time box it. Maybe give yourself half a day to solve a problem before asking for help. I usually do this and give myself 4 hours of research before asking, let's say until lunch or until the end of the day. Another great thing is taking breaks, because sometimes we get stuck simply because we need a break and rest. And I'm sure that many of you here got stuck at some point with a problem. You felt frustrated and closed the laptop and went to the kitchen or went to sleep. And then next time you open the laptop, you see the problem you had yesterday, the previous time, and you instantly see the solution. You needed to take a break. Take a break. Don't forget to take breaks. Also, something that helps very much when you get stuck is rubber duck debugging. This is a way of debugging your code where you have a rubber duck, let's say, and you explain to it your problem. Often, when you explain your problem, you can find the issue yourself. I personally do this a lot, but without even knowing, and I call it human duck debugging. I find myself sometimes asking for help to my teammates, and then when I'm explaining what I want to achieve and what I was doing, what I've done, I often find myself the issues. Try it out. This is also really cool. Now, what can you do when you have to start a task? If you don't have any idea on how to start, ask for guidance. A teammate can help you creating a list of steps that you need to do. But if you have some idea, ask for guidance as well. But instead, you can create the list of the small to-dos and steps that you need to take and then you share it with your teammates. This can help you spot early mistakes in your assumptions before you even start. This helps a lot when you don't know the project and not knowing the things you need to consider when doing a task. So always write down and ask for guidance. Now, copy pasting is okay. We all do it. And it's okay to Google things, and it's okay to copy from Stack Overflow. It's part of our job, I think. The important thing here is that when you copy paste, is that you have to understand what you're doing. What's the problem that you have that you need to solve? What is the solution that you are copying doing? I suggest you also always to look for examples within your project. And this way, you will also learn the patterns that are being used in there, and you will keep it consistent. And finally, one thing I recommend a lot is feedback sessions. This helps a lot with imposter syndrome. Ask your colleagues to have a session to give feedback to each other. In this, you both have to write. I suggest you to write, or recommend you very much to write the positive and constructive feedback. You write it down. It's very important because then you don't forget what you wanted to say, and also because afterwards you can share this with your colleagues. This is very helpful for performance reviews, as well as having it as a reference and help you fighting that monster that is imposter syndrome. You can always go back and read it and feel good again. And to make sure that you both are successful and do not have misunderstandings, I recommend you to also read about NVC, a nonviolent communication approach. Well, many times you will be asking yourself, should I know this? I'm afraid of asking it. And yeah, well, you need to tell your colleagues that you don't understand or know something. It's fine. I know it's difficult. It's very difficult. But I can assure you one thing, that once you start being open, you will realize of something. Sometimes your colleagues won't know either. And that's for everyone. This is for everyone. If you are open saying, I don't know, other colleagues will feel comfortable and will do the same. Hearing someone else saying they don't know makes you feel less imposter. I always thank people for saying, I don't know, usually do it in private, because I want them to continue saying they don't know. It helps me. Here, everyone wins. You can do it. You can progress in your career. I started as a manual QA without computer science background, but I had lots of motivation. I studied hard and transitioned from junior to junior under dev, and then mid-level under dev. And this year I got promoted to senior developer. Your career progress will be different from others. It would be different from mine. Might take more time, it might take less time, and that is fine. Sometimes opportunities are not where you expect them to be. I worked with someone that was hired as a junior, and this person was very undervalued and underpaid. They eventually left, of course, but now they are working for a big Silicon Valley company. Sorry. Take your time, continue learning, share your knowledge. We have seen that bringing juniors on board is perfectly doable and it's necessary. Of course, your team needs to be ready, but the benefits they bring compensated. Are you still not convinced of hiring juniors? Remember that you will be helping juniors to progress in their careers, and that is a rewarding experience that you and your team will enjoy. And you will learn, because the best way to master something is to teach it. And you and your seniors developers will become better by bringing less experienced people on board and training them. There are no seniors without juniors. No one is born being a senior. I will never forget my best mentor. All the patience and willingness he had to teach, all these great diagrams he always was making. He always had a stack of paper on his desk. Juniors will never forget their mentors. When you dedicate part of your time helping others learn, they will value and remember that, even if you don't think so. And that can help you also in the future. Let's say when you are looking for your next job. I am very grateful to many people for all the help I got growing as a developer, and also for all the knowledge that the Android community shares. Thank you, Troikan, for having me here today, sharing these ideas with you all, and giving me the opportunity of opening the Soft Skills Summit in Europe. No matter if you're a junior, senior, or a manager, I hope that you have learned today and that you can start applying it to your job. If you are wondering, the background slide images are from an anime called New Game. And yes, if you have ideas, tricks that help you, share them with me on Twitter. Let's have a conversation. Let's continue the conversation. Thank you, everyone. And I think now we have the chance for the Q&A. We can start the Q&A. Cool. So I will start with the Q&A. What is the point you knew that you are a senior? I have about 9 years of experience and I still don't know how companies differentiate between seniors and juniors. That's a very, very good question. That was very hard. I didn't realize it. It was with the help of my colleagues and friends. I gather information. I send what it's called 360 feedback. So I got feedback from many people I work closely with. So that's how I realized that I was doing many of the things that my company already considered senior or done by senior. When I looked at their level framework they have, we have a list of things that you are expected to do by any level, in any level. So that's how I realized that I was already in there, getting in the beginning. So that's when I asked for a promotion. So what things will you recommend to highlight on your CV in order to impress recruiters? Well, that's a very good question. Yeah, so I think for my side, what I like to see is what's your experience, depending on which kind of position you're looking. If you're a junior, you have to highlight any side projects that you have, courses that you took, anything that can show that you are learning and that you are motivated to learn. That's what helped me getting the first job as QA. I was told by my boss that he was very impressed by all these online courses, programming courses, and things I was doing. So I think that helped with getting the job. But if you're looking for the mid-level or if you're looking for a senior position, then I will highlight experience. When hiring for junior roles, we hire more for potential than for past experience. How should we assess potential in inexperienced candidates? That's a very good question. I think for me, to see the potential in someone is when I talk to this person and they show empathy, they are open, and they are open to say they don't know. They don't try to show they know everything and they are the best. They are humble, but this is more like the personality traits and the potential. You see it also in the way they show you they are learning, they are growing. I think that's for me the key point, that they are learning and they want to learn, they want to grow. Do you think well-funded early-stage startups should hire junior devs, given the first engineer set the foundation of the code and its architecture? I think it's very important to have a diverse team. An early-stage startup, if you're talking about they are 5-6 people, then you want lots of expertise, and you are gonna be paying the expertise to kick off the project. But it's important that at some point you start hiring other levels and different backgrounds, and bring diversity to your code base. So maybe in the very early stage, you don't have a junior, depending on what you're doing, but you have to at some point. Will you recommend starting as a QA? Well, that depends on what you want to achieve. For me, that was the way I got into tech. I like QA. I was ready to learn tech, learn things, learn mobile, and try to find what I liked and what I wanted to do. I also tried web development in the past, and I didn't like it. I tried Python, but I didn't know what to do with Python, which kind of projects. But doing QA helped me to see one side of the mobile development, and I liked it. And that was a great opportunity for me to learn. And from that, you can continue working as a QA and become a engineer, a QA engineer for automation, for example, if you like it. I personally didn't like it. I found Android and I stick to Android, but it's a very good opportunity. And also being QA is a very good job, and you have a lot of responsibility as well. So I can recommend starting as QA and even working as QA. How can a company make sure the juniors actually have guidance? Yeah, a company, the managers, the senior and juniors will have managers, so they will talk in their one-on-ones. They will talk and the junior will show. They will show what they are doing. They will be asked how you're doing, how's your relationship. Does this person help you? Things like that. I got asked many times, and the seniors get asked as well. How they are doing, are they listening, are they progressing, and things like that. So I would say that the managers or the mentor are also the responsibles to make sure that the junior is progressing, and as well, the junior has to give the feedback as well. It's important that they are helped. If you're teaching yourself Android development, at what point do you know enough to apply for a job? Very good question. When I said I felt ready, it was not that I felt ready personally, but my friends told me you can apply and you should apply for internships, and they pushed me to apply. And so it's very difficult to know, but it always helps to have some feedback from people and the friends that you have. I was going to meetups focused on Android. I met people in the Android community, so they were able to also help me with that and tell me, you are ready, go. Okay. Apart from the seniors in your team at workplace, how a junior can get help and grow from the community? What are the recommended channels? I would say that in the Android community is really big in Twitter. They share always things, articles, videos, etc. So for you, I'd say it's this is a good way to keep up with the latest or good articles. The Android community shares lots of things on Twitter. Other channels besides that, I don't know. That's what I use mainly. Other things that you can do as well is going to meetup events in your area. Nowadays, still with lockdowns in the COVID times, what you can do is to join online events. That's also very helpful. But yeah, I would recommend you to join events in your area so you meet people in your area, in your country, and you can help each other. Okay, no more questions.
Oh, it looks like I was just about to say thanks for coming. It looks like we've got one more. Let me.
Okay, let's do one more.
Yep.
Do I have time?
Let's take one more question. Go ahead.
Okay. I have worked with a lone wolf developer. Whoa. He's smart, but not a mentor. He expects one to figure things out by themselves. Been there, done that. What advice would you give to a junior developer in such a scenario? Well, yeah, that's a very difficult one. I also had this, also people that are very, very technical and don't have people skills and they don't know how to mentor. And that's a very difficult, use the tips I gave today whenever you can. It will help you because I learned these tips I gave you today are things I learned from my experiences. For example, when these lone wolves share their screen and they are typing and you're supposed to be pairing with them, but they are working on their computer and you just watch them work. That's not pair programming. There's no mentoring. So I would say, yes, use some of the tips I gave you. Also, feel free to reach out on Twitter and ask more details.
All right. Thanks, Laura, so much for being here.